You have noticed that genuine loyalty provokes not gratitude from those around you, but the desire to wipe their feet on you. In the next 30 minutes, we will expose the forbidden mechanisms of power and show you how scarcity of attentions transforms an ordinary person into an object of worship. You have been playing the role of the rescuer for a long time, but when you yourself fell apart, everyone around you suddenly turned out to be far too busy. This is a brutal lesson. Your value is directly proportional to the difficulty of accessing you, and if you do not learn to disappear, you will remain an eternal donor to the parasites who feed on your availability. Listen to your body right now. You feel that specific heaviness in your chest that rises every time you see a notification from someone who only remembers you exist when they need something. Your skin literally crawls with the anticipation of yet another act of being used, which out of sheer habit you will call helping a friend or someone close to you. Your palms go cold and your breathing becomes shallow, because on a subconscious level, you already know that behind that brief hello lies a long list of demands on your time and your resources. You feel a physical hollowness in your stomach when you realize that your presence in other people's lives has become so expected and guaranteed that they have stopped noticing it altogether. Your face is frozen in a mask of eternal readiness to please, and that tension in your jaw keeps you awake at night. You feel like a squeezed lemon, an empty shell that has been tossed aside after every last drop was consumed. This is not simply exhaustion. This is your body screaming at you, telling you it can no longer endure the humiliation of your own accessibility. You have become a social doormat, and every step taken across your soul leaves dirty prints that you are left to clean up entirely alone. Feel how this betrayal of your own self seeps into your bones. You feel your spine losing its rigidity, turning into yielding clay under the fingers of those who have grown accustomed to molding you into a convenient footrest. Your shoulders drop involuntarily, as though pressed down by an invisible sack filled with other people's problems that you agreed to carry completely free of charge. Your voice in conversations has grown quieter, and it has taken on that disgusting apologetic tone, even when you have committed no error at all. You apologize for being busy. You apologize for not being able to reply instantly. You apologize for the very fact of your existence in the space of these people. This state of chronic humiliation has soaked into your bloodstream, altering its chemical composition, suppressing your testosterone and your will, leaving only cortisol and the endless anticipation of the next blow. You have become a ghost in your own life, a shadow that disappears the moment the light of someone else's ego goes out. Why does this keep happening to you again and again? The mechanics of human perception are ruthless and mathematically precise. The psychological law of diminishing utility states that the more units of the same good you consume, the less satisfaction each additional portion provides. In the eyes of those around you, you have become that particular good of which there is simply too much. Your endless availability has murdered mystery, and mystery is the root of all interest. Niccolo Machiavelli, in his treatise The Prince, wrote that men are by nature ungrateful, fickle, and deceptive. They fear danger and crave gain. He argued that a prince should strive to be either loved or feared, but if these two cannot coexist, it is far safer to inspire fear. Arthur Schopenhauer added to this picture, comparing human interaction to a herd of porcupines on a cold winter's day, pressing together for warmth but forced to pull apart because of each other's quills. You have filed down your quills and offered your soft underbelly to every stranger who passed by. Schopenhauer believed that the human will is a blind and insatiable force that perpetually strives to expand its influence. If your will is weaker than the will of your opponent, he will absorb you without even noticing he has done so. Your availability signals that you have no center of gravity of your own, that you orbit around the gravitational fields of others. Your kindness is not a virtue. It is a biological error that those around you read as an open invitation to exploit you without consequence. If you always choose cooperation regardless of what your partner does, you become the perfect victim for anyone who chooses betrayal. You have trained the people in your life to treat you poorly because their contempt has never been followed by your cold withdrawal or your disappearance. If you want to change how you're treated, you must change your structure and their perception, transforming yourself from yielding water into impenetrable ice. You feel pain when you realize that your phone has been converted into a crisis hotline for complaints. A number people dial when they need to dump their negativity. They call you at 11 at night without asking whether you are busy, and they launch into an endless monologue about their failures, their exes, and their insufferable bosses. But the moment things look up for them, the moment a new source of pleasure appears on their horizon, they vanish without a trace. The Machiavellian strategy demands the immediate termination of this cycle. In the moment such a person begins pouring their problems onto you again, you do not offer sympathy. You respond with an ice-cold statement that your mind is currently occupied with far more important strategic matters, and that you have no time to serve as a receptacle for another round of complaints. A historical example of this approach can be found in the behavior of Cardinal Richelieu, who never permitted those close to him to abuse his time, constructing around himself an aura of unreachability that caused even the most powerful nobles to freeze in hushed anticipation of his rare and brief attention. Become the person who is simply impossible to reach for the purpose of venting. Let their calls dissolve into silence, and let your rare brief replies sound like a mercy that must be earned. You feel the sticky cold of humiliation when you realize you are only invited to gatherings at the last minute, after everyone else has declined. You understand you are merely the backup option. The Machiavellian response is a complete and total refusal of any invitation that arrives without sufficient notice. You broadcast to the world that your schedule is a sacred fortress that cannot be entered without prior arrangement. Recall Napoleon Bonaparte, who deliberately delayed his responses to even the most critical letters by weeks, creating in the sender a torturous state of uncertainty. When he finally replied, each of his words was received as a revelation, as a divine gift. His silence was more powerful than any cannon fire. If you are always available, you do not exist as a person. You exist as a function, as background noise. Stop being someone who always agrees. Begin saying no without explanation or justification. Let them wonder what you are so busy with. You feel the weight on your shoulders from having the dirtiest, most tedious, and most thankless work consistently transferred to you, precisely because everyone knows you will not say no out of your false sense of duty. Your face burns with injustice when you watch your colleagues receive praise and reward for the results of your labor, while you sit in the shadows correcting their mistakes. You must engineer a situation in which the entire process collapses the moment your quiet involvement is withheld. Let them see the chaos that follows your absence. The historical example is the behavior of the Venetian glassmakers, who guarded their secrets with such impenetrable secrecy that their absence was treated as a state catastrophe. They dictated terms to kings. If your labor is not being compensated with respect, it should not be performed at all. You feel a soul-deep depletion when you find yourself forgiving betrayals, lies, and contempt over and over again, dressing this pattern up as deep psychological insight and compassion. Your ability to understand other people's motivations has been converted into a lethal weapon pointed directly at yourself. The Machiavellian sovereign knows that understanding without firm boundaries is direct complicity in your own destruction. You must burn this weakness out of yourself with a white-hot iron. If a partner has betrayed you, you do not analyze their childhood traumas. You erase them from your reality. If a friend has let you down, you do not put yourself in their position. You close the door on them permanently. Your response to disrespect must be swift, cold, and absolutely final. No second chances. No heart-to-heart conversations. You feel a sharp, burning pain in your chest when your partner or employer begins deliberately comparing you to someone else who appears more successful, compelling you to run faster and serve more devotedly. The Machiavellian warrior simply refuses to participate in this rat race. You must project an absolute certainty that you are beyond comparison because you operate in a league of your own making. Recall Queen Elizabeth I, who mastered the use of her solitude and untouchability as instruments of power, cutting off any attempt to compare her to other monarchs. She was uniquely herself because she refused to compete by anyone else's rules. You feel the cold in your fingers and a faint trembling when you realize that your emotions and your need for love are being used as bargaining chips. You are given a microscopic dose of tenderness or praise at the exact moment you begin to show independence, precisely to drag you back into the yoke of obedience. You must become utterly indifferent to the flattery and approval of others. Your inner self-sufficiency must be so monolithic that any attempt to bribe you with emotion collides with a wall of ice. Look at the stone sculptures of the ancient Stoic philosophers. Their serenity arose from the understanding that external judgments are merely the sound of wind, incapable of shaking the granite of their spirit. You feel your mind clouding over with toxic vapor when those around you insist that your desire for distance and your protection of your own time are expressions of selfishness and a lack of love. They call you cold, calculating, and cruel, trying to generate shame in you for the simple act of refusing to be their servant any longer. Recall Nietzsche's teaching on the morality of masters versus the morality of slaves. Those who accuse you of selfishness are attempting to fasten slave chains around your wrists. Stop. Take a deep breath right now and feel the cold air filling your lungs. I know that faces are flashing before your mind's eye. The eyes of those who spent years using your goodness as free fuel for their ambitions. You feel a powerful resistance rising inside you, a voice whispering that this is too cruel. Recognize that voice. It is the voice of your inner slave, the voice of the person who is conditioned to fear solitude more than humiliation. Look at your hands. They may be trembling from this internal storm, from the rage that accumulated over years and has finally been acknowledged. Allow this righteous anger to rise to the surface. It will not make you a bad person. It will make you a person who has boundaries. Your rage is your soul's immune system, which has finally begun fighting the infection of other people's egotism. Your final and irreversible rebirth begins with a profound internal acceptance of the philosophy of total distance. This is not a temporary tactic. This is your new way of existing in this world. You must recognize that your personality, your attention, and your time are not public property, but a strictly guarded private territory whose entry carries an impossibly high price. Respect is not something you should be given simply by virtue of existing. It is something you take yourself through the demonstration of your power and your scarcity. You are transforming yourself into a colossal glacier of ice that cannot be moved from its position by tears, by pleading, or by threats. Your silence from this moment forward becomes your loudest manifesto, and your absence becomes your most formidable and incontestable force. In the brutal reality of dark psychology and the contest of wills, survival belongs not to the most empathetic or the most kind, but to the most unreachable and the most strategically cold. Be like a magnificent lighthouse on a cliff which illuminates the way for all who sail, yet cannot be reached by swimming through its churning icy waves. Be like the lone wolf who knows the true worth of his pack and is prepared to defend it to his last breath, but who will never lick the hand of the one who raises a stick against him. Your value in the eyes of others from this point forward is measured only by your absence. People will begin to treasure your presence only when they grasp that the source of your attention has permanently run dry. Understand that the logic of distance is the only language comprehensible to those accustomed to consuming the energy of others without return. When you retreat into shadow, each of your rare appearances becomes an event of world-scale importance. You create an emptiness that they will attempt to fill with their thoughts about you. They will analyze your behavior, and the more they think about you, the more power you acquire over them without lifting a single finger. Your time as a victim has come to an end. You will no longer justify your existence through your usefulness to others. You will exist for your own greatness and your own peace. Feel how this new behavioral algorithm is installing itself into your structure. You feel your pulse slowing, settling into a calm and measured rhythm. There is only the cold clarity of your own objectives. You have severed the strings by which the manipulators were pulling you, and now you alone determine the trajectory of your movement. Your path leads away from the swamp of availability toward the mountain peaks of sovereignty. There it is cold, the air is thin, but only there can you breathe fully without fear of another person's poison. You have become the embodiment of a power that requires no proof. Your silence now resonates like thunder, and your shadow frightens those who grew accustomed to living in your light. You are no longer a part of their game. You are the game itself. You are free from their expectations. You are sovereign in your decisions. If you feel that the old skin of the slave has finally fallen from your body and you're ready to take your rightful throne as a sovereign, press the join button beneath this video.